Good morning, dear students. Myself, Professor S.B. Bendigeri, Department of Economics, taking online classes for PUC second year commerce students. Dear students, in the last class, we will discuss about the meaning and functions of money, which is the most important topic for examination point of view. And today, let us have a brief discussion on the demand for and supply of money. How money is demanded and how it is supplied in the economy. We have to understand. This is the basic part of the money. How money is demanded? For what purpose we need money? If we need money, we require money, how it is supplied? So these two important concepts you have to understand very systematically. And it is also most important question for examination. Okay. Now let us start with the meaning of demand for money. Try to understand, it's a objective question in the examination. They may ask what is demand for money or else what is supply of money. Demand for money in the sense, what makes when people desire to hold certain amount of money for their transactions? It depends on the income and rate of interest. When the income is more and rate of interest is less, people hold more cash balances with them for their transactions. It is vice versa. It means what? What makes when people desire to hold a certain amount of money for their transactions? If they hold certain amount of money for their transactions, it is required forever. It is required today and in the future. But holding of this particular amount of money is always depends upon the income and the rate of interest of a human being. If the income of an individual is more, he may demand, he may hold more amount of money with him. If the income of an individual is less, based on the ratio of his income, he is trying to hold certain amount of money with him for his transactions. It is also depends upon, the demand for money is also depends upon the rate of interest. If the rate of interest is more, we demand less amount of money. If the rate of interest is less, we demand more amount of money. Take the example of bank customers. The bank customers like you and me are always borrowing huge amount of loans from banks when the rate of interest is less. If the rate of interest is more, we never borrow more amount of loans from banks and financial institutions. So what happened here? The demand for money by each and every individual is always depends upon the income and rate of interest. Okay. Now let us look at the motives of demand for money. Motives means purpose. Purposes of demand for money. These motives of demand for money are classified into three categories. First one, transaction motive. It means what? People hold some amount of money for their day-to-day transactions. Usually, they receive money periodically and spending it daily, weekly, or monthly. The amount of money you hold by them is depends upon, as I said in the beginning, rate of interest and income. Try to understand very systematically. Money is required for three important reasons for every individual. Money is required for three basic purposes, reasons for every individual in the economy. Out of that three, first one is transaction purpose, transaction motive. Second one is speculative motive, speculative purpose. Third one is precautionary motive or else purpose. For these three purposes, you and me, the entire country, the entire globe required money demanded money. Okay. Here, what happened in transaction motive? People hold some amount of money for their day-to-day transactions. They always hold money. Even you and me also hold money for our day-to-day transactions. In the sense, whatever goods and services we want, whatever products we want, whatever necessaries we need to have, for those aspects, we have to have ready cash, liquid cash with us every day, for example. But one thing is quite sure here, but we all are not equally getting money, receiving money. All individuals are not getting money at a time. Some individuals are receiving money daily, some others are weekly, and few others are monthly and yearly, for example. When they are getting money, when they are receiving money periodically, they use it for their day-to-day transactions. Okay. Suppose, for example, government servants. Government servants are receiving their salaries once in a month, but they spend the same money throughout the month, whenever, wherever they require. And this is called transaction motive. Take the example for that. Wages of workers, electricity bill, and day-to-day necessaries of life. If you are receiving money monthly, for example, you are using it for paying the wages of workers, for paying electricity bill, for paying water bill, for purchasing the day-to-day necessaries of like for example, matchbox, salt, gas cylinder, vegetables, milk. These are the basic necessaries. For everything, we need to have certain amount of liquid cash with us every day. This is called as transaction motive. Okay. Now coming to the second motive of demand for money, that is speculative motive. You have to understand the meaning first. Speculative motive means people hold some amount of money for their future transactions, even at high rate of interest, to earn windfall profit. Listen to me very carefully what I said in the beginning. People required money for three purposes. One is for transaction purpose, means daily purpose. One more is for future purposes, and third one is for emergency purposes. Okay. So here in the second motive for demand for money, that is people hold some amount of money for their future transactions, even at a high rate of interest, to earn windfall profit. See, look at that sentence. There are some people like traders, businessmen, business magnates, what we call it as, they always hold some amount of liquid cash for future transactions. In the sense, they expect profit in the future, near future. They are investing today and expecting profit in the near future, or else tomorrow, for example. While holding this amount of liquid cash with them, they never look at a rate of interest. At whatever rate of interest, they always hold certain amount of money with them. For what? To earn windfall profit. Windfall profit means unexpected profit. Example, hike in the petrol rates. Suppose, for example, if the businessman got to know that tomorrow there will be a 2 rupees hike in the rate of petrol. If he got this information prior to others, for example, what he is doing? He start collecting of petrol, huge amount of petrol today itself at today's rate, and selling it tomorrow by addition of 2 rupees hike in the price, for example. What happens there? If he is collecting all petrol today at the rate of 80 rupees, if he is selling it tomorrow for 82 rupees, he may get maximum amount of profit. That amount is called as windfall profit. For these purposes, some businessmen, some traders are holding some amount of money. That amount of money is called as speculative motive, for example. Okay, example is hike in the petrol rates. Okay, now coming to the third important motive behind demand for money is precautionary motive. The word itself tells you for what purpose you need to have money. You need to have liquid cash with you. Precautionary motive in the sense people hold ready cash in their hands for their future unforeseen emergencies. Okay, future unforeseen means unexpected emergencies. Sometimes there may be a unexpected emergencies may happens in the days to come. For those emergencies, the people like you and me are holding some amount of liquid cash. But here, it is also depends upon the level of income and rate of interest. Whatever amount of money we are holding for our future purposes, or for our precautionary purposes, that also depends upon the rate of interest and income. If the rate of interest is more, the money which is hold for precautionary motive is less. If the rate of interest is less in the banks, the money which is holding for the purpose of precautionary motive is more. And if your income is less, you are holding less amount of precautionary motive money for precautionary motive. And if your income is more, you are holding more amount of money for your precautionary purposes. Okay, try to understand. Always people like you and me are holding some amount of liquid cash with us for our future unforeseen emergencies. Look at the examples. What kind of unforeseen emergencies we may have in the future? Those are unexpected diseases and accidents. Okay, diseases and accidents are not expected. Okay, these are always unexpected. For these unexpected, for example, reasons, purposes, we need to have money in our hand. That is called as precautionary motive. I hope everyone understood. This is all about the demand for money. Now look at the meaning of supply of money. Supply of money in the sense, very simple definition is there, simple understanding is there. In case of supply of money, it is the total stock of money in circulation among the public at a particular point of time. Okay, the total stock of money in circulation among the public at a particular point of time is called as supply of money. Okay, total entire stock of money. Okay, which is under circulation. Okay, what amount of money is under circulation by public at a particular point of time is known as supply of money. In a modern economy, money consists of mainly currency notes, coins, all types of bank deposits and commercial bank deposits. Okay, money includes what? All types of currency notes. Okay, currency notes are printed by Reserve Bank of India and coins are minted by Government of India. Try to understand. All currencies. Okay, 10 rupees currency, 20 rupees, 50 rupees, 100 rupees. Okay, whatever currencies are there in the circulation, all those paper currencies are printed by Reserve Bank of India, and all coins, 1 rupee coin, 2 rupees coin, 5 rupees coin, 10 rupees coin, for example, all coins are minted by Government of India. And all types of banks deposits. In bank, we know there are different types of deposits. Okay, we are making different types of deposits in the bank, like for example, recurring deposits, savings deposits, fixed deposits. Okay, there are different types of deposits. Whatever amount of deposits are there in the banks, those are comes under the calculation of supply of money. and commercial bank deposits. So this is all about the supply of money. Now look at the title over here. It is very interesting title. This is sometimes I think 4 or 6 marks question in the examination. Now you understood the demand for and supply of money. This story is related. This story tells the process of deposit and credit creation of banks. How banks are creating credit and how they are going to deposit money. Okay. That banking activity, the process of banking activity is explained with the help of this suitable example like a Goldsmith Lala's story of process of deposit and credit creation. Look at that paragraph. There was a goldsmith named Lala in a village. The name of that goldsmith was Lala in a village. In this village, people used gold and other precious metals as a medium of exchange. Okay. In earlier days, in ancient days, people used to use, for example, the gold and precious metals for their transactions as a medium of exchange. Whatever they are going to purchase in the market, they have to give some quantity of gold, for example. In the place of currency or else money, gold was acting as a medium of exchange. Okay. In this village, people used gold and other precious metals as a medium of exchange in order to buy goods and services. Whoever is purchasing any type of goods and services, they are giving gold or other precious metals for that particular goods and service. Okay. These metals were acting as money, as I said. These metals, gold and precious metals were acting as money in that particular village. People in the village started keeping their gold with Lala for safekeeping. What they thought? They thought that some amount of gold they have to keep with Lala for their safekeeping, for their future transactions, for their, for example, emergencies. They start keeping some amount of gold with Lala. In return for keeping their gold, Lala issued paper receipts to people of the village. Once the people of the village start keeping gold with Lala, Lala has issued a paper receipts for that information, for that records. Lala issued paper receipts to people of that particular village and charged a small amount of fees to them. While issued that papers to that particular person, he charged some amount of, for example, fees for that. It means what? Once he safeguards their gold for that security, for that, for example, risk, he is to have some amount of benefit. He is to have some amount of reward, what we call it as. Reward in the sense, he start, for example, charging some amount of fees for them. Okay. Slowly, over a period of time, the paper receipts issued by Lala began to circulate as money. See, very interesting point. Whatever receipts given by Lala, those receipts have start circulated as money in the market. Because what happened? For that particular receipt, they have safeguard like gold with Lala. Okay. This means that instead of giving gold for purchasing wheat, they can give the paper receipt issued by the Lala. Earlier, they used to give gold for their transactions. Whenever they are buying any goods and services, they are giving gold for that matter. Instead of giving gold, now they have to give that receipt to the sellers in the market. Once they start giving that receipts to the sellers, that receipts were acting as money in the market. That receipts plays a role of money in the market. Since everyone started accepting this as a medium of exchange, everyone started accepting means all sellers are accepting that receipts because those receipts have gold as a reserve with, for example, Lala. So because of that, everyone start accepting those receipts as a medium of exchange. Suppose Lala had 100 kg of gold deposited by different people of that particular village. It means what? Different people have kept a total of 100 kg of gold with Lala. And he had issued receipts corresponding to that 100 kg of gold. Whatever amount of gold he had, for that he had received all, for example, issued that receipts to all the people of the village. At this time, Ramu comes to Lala. See, this story is very interesting here. At this time, Ramu comes to Lala and asks for loan of 25 kg of gold. As I said in the beginning, Lala had 100 kg of gold. Out of that, Ramu comes to him and asking 25 kg of gold. Can Lala give the loan? Can you tell me? Can Lala give the loan of 25 kg of gold to Ramu? However, Lala could decide that everyone with gold deposits will not come to withdraw at the same time. Listen to me very carefully. This sentence is very meaningful. Whenever the gold is kept by different people with any other person, all people not going at a time to that particular person to withdraw it. Some individuals are going after some time, some others are going after some days, for example, some others are going after few months or few years, for example, but all are not coming to withdraw their gold, withdraw their, for example, assets at a time. So this thought has come in the mind of Lala, and the same time, and so he may give the loan of 25 kg of gold to Ramu and charge him for it. See what he thought. Suddenly he thought that all are not coming to me to withdraw that gold at a time, so I can give 25 kg of gold to Ramu, for example, and after giving it, he charged some amount of fees on that. And Ramu could also pay all with this 25 kg of gold, and Ali could keep this 25 kg of gold with Lala in return. What happened here? Ramu could also pay Ali with these 25 kg of gold. Whatever amount of gold Ramu received from Lala, he has given it to Ali, one more person. For his repayments, Ramu has given that 25 kg of gold to Ali. So that gold is comes from Lala to Ramu and Ramu to Ali now. Look at the further statement. After receiving that 25 kg of gold, Ali could keep this 25 kg of gold with Lala in return for a paper receipt. Okay. Again Ali come back to Lala, for example, and kept that 25 kg of gold and issued the receipt from there for that 25 kg of gold, for example. Okay. So again Lala issued a receipt to Ali for that 25 kg of gold. Here, in effect, the paper receipts acting as money. So in the entire market, the paper receipt which is issued by Lala is acting as a money, for example, so that gold is risen to 125 kg. Earlier, Lala had 100 kg of gold and 25 kg of gold is given to Ramu, and again the same 25 kg of gold is given from Ramu to Ali, and Ali again came back to Lala and kept that gold with Lala, and he received paper receipts for that. So total 125 kg of gold was there with Lala. It seems that Lala has created money in the economy. As paper receipts, Lala has created money in the economy. There was no money earlier. Before this process, there was no money earlier in the market. There was only gold and precious metals were acting as money. Now, that paper receipt which is given by Lala is start acting as a money in the market. The modern banking system works as Lala behaves in this example. How Lala behaves in this example, no? Likewise, the modern banking system is works at present. If you are going to look at the process of banking activities, the process of banking activities works like this. I hope everyone understood the story. The story is the suitable example for present or else modern banking activities. Okay, this is very interesting story. This story is way most important. For example, for the coming examinations, most of the times this question was there in the earlier question papers. So try to understand, try to digest this particular story. Okay. With this, we shall stop today's discussion. Remaining part we shall discuss in the next class. And whatever slides you have seen over here, you take the snapshots of all those slides and make it as your study material for coming examinations. Okay. Thank you very much.